The third way that our education system misuses time is killing flow. Flow. So the assumption here that I'm making is the assumption we made earlier was the class time equals productive time. That is weak at best. So even using fiat metrics such as test scores, it is not true. We're not getting the results that we desire. So what we really need is to look at the quality of the time, not just the quantity, but the quality of the time. So if you had a fresh start, a blank slate, and had to design an education system, it would support this idea of flow. When you are so engaged that you reach your maximum productivity, when you're really in the zone, if you will, it's in the best interest of the kids, and therefore it's in the best interest of the parents. I would argue, and I do argue, it's in the best interest of our national security. So if you just on your own want to look up what our economic competitors are doing and they're focusing on STEM, we do have schools and teachers that focus on STEM. We need more of that. The lesson here, though, is that inside the system, in our education system, it is an uphill battle because our school days are structured to just decimate flow. They do not support this productive period. So this concept is something most grasp intuitively. Even very young children get it. We believe in untapped potential. Think of The Hobbit and the Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter. If you're my generation, you might think of Karate Kid. You believe in this untapped potential that you have. We also, as humans, appreciate and value excellence. So let's think about peak performers in any field you want. Athletics, entertainment, business, politics, it doesn't matter. We read stories, we watch movies, and when possible, we will pay a lot of money to go and watch someone perform who's at an elite level, an elite athlete, an elite entertainer, whatever it is. What do elite performers do? Well, they invest heavily in personalized coaching. So the pattern, the higher level, the more individual the coaching. So that intense level of focus is the opposite of our one-size-fits-all educations. So let's get into the classroom. First of all, the subjects might not align with the children's interests and talents. Okay, that's a small thing. The higher student-to-teacher ratio in the classroom is actually a really big thing. The more you have to teach to the average, the more you're hurting all the students. So those who are picking up the material very fast, they're held back from reaching their material. They're likely to get bored and frustrated. Those who are struggling with the material are also losing time. They will have to invest more time later, like tutoring or self-directed homework, or they just may never get the material. They just sat in the class and did not get the material. Homeschooling, on the other hand, leverages the freedom of their time for really deep work. Let me just add real quick too, age-based grouping within schools compounds this problem. Today we're talking about time, but the age-based grouping compounds this problem because kids, even when they have similar aptitudes for a subject, they may be most receptive to learning that at different stages and at different ages. So even under perfect conditions, reaching the flow state is pretty challenging to do. So let's assume somehow, despite all those obstacles we just described, students manage to overcome that talent mismatch and all those challenges, and they get into a flow state. So what we want to do is once we're there, we want to protect that and help them. The last thing we want to do is interrupt them. If it's a science lab, it's coding, it's writing, it's a Socratic discussion, it's something. If they're engaged in a learning experience and they are in flow, we want to encourage that. And maybe that goes well past an hour. Yet we schedule our classes 45 minutes to 60 minutes in most cases. So whatever learning momentum may start is completely interrupted by this annoying bell, and then they have to go off to the next thing. So we're constantly interrupting because of the way we structure our time. We have the schedule, the clock on when the classes start. So schools also include study halls. We mentioned this above, which isn't inherently bad, and you might need to do that. But here's the risk. In terms of flow, the risk is distraction. So homeschoolers have better control over when and how students are using social media and playing games, etc. These are focus killers, and they inhibit learning, effective learning for everyone. So that's just the first order impact. So the other part of that is kids carry those habits into adulthood. So if you're now playing the video games or social media, whatever these things are that distract you from flow, then those negative habits are going to compound over time throughout their life. So indirectly related to all the time.